Okay, on this one I've got this CSV file. I've opened it in Excel and I'm going to read this in, and the ask was to get this data off of it and make it as part of the application. So I'm going to try to get all of these columns out of here and make them variables in the batch as I upload it. From there, I'm not going to do much more, but you could use all that data on export. We could build some kind of export system that put it out to something else, but we'll at least see that this data gets associated with the batch without having to read in the CSV file or do any kind of OCR work or anything like that. So first things first, I have an application here that I worked on a long time ago called VScan CSV. It's a custom action that just takes the custom VScan, and I added a CSV capability to it. I haven't looked at it in a long time, but it exists. I'll add a link to the video with that. So I'm going to put that somewhere here, and I'm just going to put it in this directory with this remittance application. This is the same one we did in the line item line item demonstration. So I'm going to go into here. I've got Visual Studio running here. It's just Visual Studio Community 2015. I've got that running. I'm going to open up this solution. Again, this one's just a generic thing that looks for each line in a file, references an image, and then it reads the image in and does that for the VScan. So I'm going to take that and try to do something a little bit differently with it. So this one's going to require some custom C# code to get it to work. Again, there's no warranties or liabilities or anything with this code. I took the original custom VScan that's out on the developer works, and I used that and mucked that together for this. So you have to just use it and figure out what it does. There's going to be no warranty whatsoever. Again, I just mucked up their example, and this came from an IBM example, and I just mucked that together. This is custom actions here. I've got my list of actions in this resources rs.cs file. Nope, not that one. They're in this resource file. Here's the rx.rx file. And this one just lists out, hey, there's a method called scan. Hey, there's a scan folder. Now these are the help pages, so when you do an information about an action, you can have all this little XML here gets converted into nice pretty stuff that gives you information about how each action works. So I don't need to do anything with that. This VScan CSV is the one I want to use. I'm pretty much going to do all the same folder structure, do all of the same file types, things like that. The scan is what's going to change here. And I'm just taking the start time so I can measure how long this takes. I'm going to put that out in logging, things like that. The directory, I'm going to get the directory where it is. And we got that from the folder path variable, because that we're going to have that set with one of the actions of what folder path. And then we're going to get all the files with that specific extension. And then for each file, I'm going to get the file name data here. I'm going to create a stream reader here to open the file and start reading it. I'm going to read one line at a time, and this is where we're going to start changing it. I'm going to get that line. I'm going to split the comma delimited out into an array of strings. Right here, I'm going to now take that and say add a child to the DCO, and I'm going to add a page. So in this case, I'm not going to do one per line, because I'm going to have the CSV file. He's going to be alone, and he's just going to have all the data from within that. So at this point, I think I'm going to create the batch outside of this while loop, and then have each time through the while loop create a new a new list of data. And I'll have it like, I'll just have each row have a separate number. So I'll have name 0, name 1, value 1, amount 1, and then I'll move to the next line. Name 2, value 2, those kinds of things associated with this. So here that's how we add a page to the batch. So we're going to have one page per CSV file. So I need to move this out. First off, let me just make sure this works, because this is a good thing to do, just to make sure it's actually going to work. And I'll just make it work with the existing way that it is here, and then we'll just make sure it'll read in the CSV file from there. So I'm just going to build it. Okay, so it's referencing this file can't be resolved because it's against framework 461. Let's build it against the newer framework. See what happens here. There it is. Now it's succeeded. So you might have some reference issues to files not being referenced. These ones like DCO, rmlib, dclog, those are in your Datacap directory. You might have to reconnect those as well. But got rid of that error. Should be fine. I think this solution was built for 9.0. It's been quite a while since I've worked on it, but that should be fine. Build was there. Let's go find the files for that. That would be in, we put it in our Datacap application folder, remittance, VScan, CSV, bin, debug, and here is that DLL. So I'm going to copy that DLL and I'm going to put that into my application folder, DCO rules folder, and now when we run this in Datacap Studio, we should see that list of actions. So let's open that up again. Remittance is there, and here I've got my VScan rules here, and I can create a VScan CSV rule set. Now let's build that kind of quick here. It'll be pretty easy. We're going to create a different workflow for this. We'll just have one workflow that's reading in all the TIFF or PDF files, and we'll have another one that's just looking for CSV files. So they can both share the same directory. It'll be fine. Add rule set. I'm going to call this VScan CSV. So what are we going to do here? I'm going to add file extensions, max documents. I don't think it matters that much. Scan folder we need to put in here, and skips the first CSV line. We might do that because I do think, let's go look at that, it does have the header information. Yeah, so we'll skip the first line. That's something I probably put in long ago. Wait time, I don't think it matters, and then scan. So file extensions, I'm going to say CSV, scan folder. Let's just pick out that folder here, Datacap remittance, oops, images, and multi-format. So this is currently our folder for, again, these line item things that we did before. Nice thing here, I'll just take this and put it right into the application. In general, it's probably better to put it in the application manager, but this should work okay. You get the idea. If we put it in the application manager, then we could use a smart parameter on it like this, where they say at app path vscan imager. This is a smart parameter where they're getting the folder from that. Same thing with this, and they're getting the folder from that smart parameter. And that way you can change the location depending on if you're in dev, test, or production, things like that. So I've got that set up. Now when do I want this to run? Let me see what these guys do. These guys run at the batch level. That's what I thought. Yeah, because it's going to be a batch level, we're going to be creating batches here. And I'll run that at the batch level. There we go. Publish that. Now we're going to see how to create a new task and a new workflow as well, because this is completely different. We're not going to put it in our multi-format or scan from disk. We're going to create a whole new one. Don't do this very often, but this is a good use case for it. I'm going to create a custom one. I'm going to call this scan CSV. There, and the rule set that I want to run is that one. Scan CSV. I'm not going to do anything else on that. Now we've done that part of it. We need to make a workflow for it, so I'm going to open up my TM Web. I could also do this through Content Navigator as well. This one's just a little faster for me because it's already got links, and I'd have to go and do some more stuff on TM Web. Remittance is the right application. Go to my Administrator tab, and let's just see one of these we want to use. We'll use all of these the same. So page ID, these are going to do exactly the same thing, but we're just going to have that vscan CSV instead. Make sure I saved all that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to make a copy of it. And when you rename it, the first thing you do is, I'm going to call this VScan CSV. Is that what I called it here? I want it to match the name that I called it here. Just scan CSV. I call it scan CSV. And once I change the name, I'm going to click apply. That'll immediately apply it. Don't go and change a bunch more stuff because it might not keep that change. So now instead of VScan multi, I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to add a new one, and I'm going to call this as a rule runner task. It's going to say, are you sure you want to change it? I'm going to say okay. Oh, this is a scan, what do I call here? I keep looking back here. Scan CSV. Scan CSV. I call this read all CSV files. And the mode is batch creation. You only have one of these per workflow. And we're not going to do any queue by or store by. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to come in here and make sure that this is going to call my main task profile, which it's not. This would crash Datacap desktop, so you would see it not work, not have anything, nothing would happen. Scan CSV is the name of my task profile. I'm going to look at that. That's right here, scan CSV. That's the name, the task profile that it's going to actually run. So the rest of it looks pretty good. It's pretty simple when you're just a rule runner process. I'm going to scroll down, click save, say done. Now, one thing to look out for when you copy a workflow, this is a hot tip right here, just recognize that this route to fix up lost all its connections here. I think this is a bug. Somebody should file a PMR on it. I haven't done it yet, just need to. I just come into one I copied from, and I come in here and I say it's a branch, it's a fix-up job pending 0. Branch fix-up job pending 0. It's a branch fix-up job pending 0. Make sure those match. Pending 0. Now the same thing's going to be in the profiler. This is the routing step to, that was the routing step to fix up, and this one's going to be the routing step to verify. This one's going to be split, verify pending 1. So split, verify, pending, and 1. It's going to step across over 1. Uh-oh. Maybe I didn't see. Split, verify, pending. Well, web page expired. Let's come back to the app. Maybe it was resetting it. It was still saving it probably. Just make sure those got set. They probably did. Yeah, split, verify, pending 1, and branch fix up pending 0. So those are set now, so they will work, and I can actually go and test this. Make sure, yep, that looks right. So we've got this new workflow called scan CSV, which will read CSV files from that folder we specified. I should be able to run this from Datacap Studio. What's nice about this is pretty flexible. I can just say reload, find any updates, and there's going to be a new workflow here called scan CSV. Take a new one, and I can't do anything because I don't have a CSV file in there. Let me go get that CSV file. I think I put it on the desktop here. And there it is. I'll copy that file. I'm going to put it in that same folder here. And there's the CSV file. So remember, we've told it to only get CSV files, so hopefully that works. And I'm going to click play here. And it didn't work, so now we got to go look at our logs, see what happened, and see if we can do anything about it. So rules, we don't need, we're going to batches. This is 1300, scan CSV log, see what happened here. Okay, so we're calling the rule set. I can see it calling the function. It's setting the extensions. I wonder if I need a dot there. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe I do. Skip first CSV line. Scan. It said 0 files. found 0 files. It didn't find any CSV files. So this is where we go and look and see what did it use. It's possible that it just needs a .csv. I bet you it does. Because what we're doing here is we're passing it that value here, right here, to get the list of files. And I could look at directory info get files. I think it's the patterns. Let's just do .csv. I think it's a dot issue. Keep running, come back over here. I'm going to move this rule set up so it's with the rest of the scan stuff. Can lock it, open, open. Change that to .csv. Publish that rule set, test again, come back from scan CSV, click play. Still didn't work. So now it's time to add some debugging around that. This is where you kind of get into, you know, you're building the application. So it said it found 0 files. So we did see that in the log. I can say reload that in the log. And then we said scan. We said it said 0 files. And this time it said .csv. So we could try it without and see what happened, but let's just go here. We might have to look up this Windows method and see what it takes. I'm going to print out the directory, which was m folder path. Make sure that's right so we can see that in the log. rrlog.write extensions. Save that. I had an extra R in there. Save that, build it. Okay, so it's successful. Now the issue you're going to have is we can't replace that DLL file because Datacap Studio is actually using it, so we have to exit out of Datacap Studio. That's my kind of pet peeve about using the C# stuff, but you get through it. What I'll typically do is have two folders here, one pointed right at the DCO rules folder and one pointed right at the debug code here, and you can see that it was 1136, 1137. It was just compiled. I'm going to say copy, paste, replace, and if you have Datacap Studio open, it'll say it's locked. Okay, we should be able to get more information out of this. There should be this batch still running. We can simply pick it, which takes it off hold and starts running it in this test tab. Click play, say yes, and I'm going to say keep running again. This log will say it's changed. We might have a little bit more info here on what it actually did. So this is where it's trying to get it. See Datacap remittance multi-format. So there should be a CSV file there. I'm going to open up a new one since I'm going to use those two for always copying that DLL over. Okay, I see the file there. So I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look up that method and see what it samples are. This method is called directory info get files. So I can just Google for that. Sometimes Bing is actually better when you're searching for Windows functions, so I'll use that instead. Says the pattern here is just a string. Oh, I might need an asterisk on there. That's what I need. An asterisk. There it is. Okay, that's good to know. So we can do that right in Datacap Studio here. Come back here. unlock it. Asterisk.csv, save it, publish it, test it. We already got it open, so I'm going to choose scan CSV. Okay, so it got a file here. I'm going to keep it running. So we've got this one file here. It didn't find anything, but it actually did something much more than it did before. But it's not running how we want it to because it doesn't have a list of files in it. I'm sure the CSV import is doing, expecting a whole lot more. But it found one file. We're going to import that file name. It's going to look on each line. It failed to create an image file because it couldn't find the image file. It's just searching for a certain kind of format. But we're not doing that in this one. We're going to actually import the CSV file. So come back over to Visual Studio and let's change around our code. Now that we know it runs, it's good to know, we can actually now start to change it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to create this file, the page in Datacap. So I'm not going to do it on each line. I'm going to do it just before we actually call this all the lines. Control X, and I'm going to do it right here, and I'm going to create a page file, page ID. I'm going to add a page, and the page is going to be that CSV file. So we have to kind of dig into this and see where we're doing. So we're going to split the line, and then we're going to get the file name. We're going to, so this assumes the file source is TIFF, but it's not. We know it's CSV. So the file name, and then we're going to add all these variables to it. So I copy the file to this tm001.tiff file. I'm going to copy the file. It's probably going to tm file name is this 6 zeros, the number of files gotten plus the 6 zeros. We're going to write that to it, and then so that's part of getting the CSV file over there. So I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm going to do that outside this line writing stuff. There it is, but we're going to call it, we know that this is a CSV file since we're doing only CSV files. Could probably name it a little different. We'll probably have to give an ID of -1, so it ignores it. Might be -2. I'd have to look at my values. We've got that. So copy file, and this isn't going to be the file name. We're not going to do the split file name because that would have come out of it. We're going to actually do the file name of this CSV file, the one that we opened here. So that is, I don't know if we need the folder path and the FI next name, but we'll do that. Yeah, I'm going to use full path on this. So I'm going to copy the folder path plus the FI next name. Hopefully I can do it while it's still open. I don't need any of that split stuff. To the file name, and the image name is going to be file name. So that's how we're going to do that. Next thing, we're going to split that line. We're not going to do any deleting because that's just kind of commented out for you to use if you needed it. And then we're going to add these page variables. So this one, that page type, image file, scan source, those ones are all based on just the CSV file. So that's what I'm going to do there. I'm going to do it as part of creating the original file. So it's type other, image file is file name. I think we are, oh yeah, so we just write it to log here, but we're actually going to name it, file name is the image file parameter, scan source path is FI next full name, that's fine. And the rest of it, what do we do with this split line now? So we've got some variables out of the other CSV when we're, the sample code that we've gotten, where they've got the split 3 is the category, split 4 is the file owner, split 5 is that. So we're going to get those same values out of this, but now we've got one per line. So we're going to have another variable here called line number, and we're going to use it very similar to the number of files gotten. So I'm going to say it's an integer line number equals 0, and call it an int. Need a semicolon on the end. While I'm doing this, so while line at the end here, I'm going to say in line number plus plus. So I'm going to increment it. Make sure I do that so I don't forget it. And I'm going to add some variables here. So the next thing is, what variables am I going to get out of this file? So we could look at this file and see what we got here. Vendor payment date, vendor name, payment date, reference number. So that's 0, assuming that's 0, split o page dot add variable, oops, vendor name. I'm going to test this with 1. And C# uses it 0 for the first index. The rest of these I can comment out. So I'm just going to make sure that every page, for every line, we're going to get the vendor name. So we don't want vendor name, we want vendor name plus in line number, because it's going to be multiples in here because we're going to have multiple lines. So vendor name 0 is split 0. I'm going to do that for each of the values. Have that in the image file here. Okay, read another line, go to the next line number. So this should actually work now. Ta-da, good luck with that. We'll try it. I don't like this little red dot here. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't look right to me. So, I don't see, oh, here, split 1, split 2. It doesn't like the copy file names here. Copy file, this is what we're going to copy from, is m folder path plus backslash plus fi next dot name. Okay, red dot is gone. Save, build, go get the DLL. Remember, I gotta stop Datacap Studio. I'll show you what happened if I don't stop Datacap Studio. When I try to write it, replace it, it's gonna say it's locked. Do you want to try again? So you have to go and stop Datacap Studio to get it to run. You might, and if you're running this through Datacap Desktop, you might have to stop that as well. So now it's copied. It restart Datacap Studio. It's the one annoyance. There are really much better debug tools. You can get the debugger. You can cause an exception and get the debugger to pop up, which is nice. You get a much better debug environment than Visual Basic, but I don't know, it comes at a cost. There it is. Go over to my test tab. I can actually cancel that batch we just created because it's got bogus data in it. And we're going to create a new one this time. New, play, and there I'm going to say keep running, and actually I don't think we can run it again. So I've got vendor name 0 is vendor name 1 is Concrete Player, vendor name 2 is Lake Cunningham Park. So it didn't skip the first line, so we got to look at that now because it took the actual first line. So let's see where that is. I know I had an action for it, skip first line. So let's look at all instances to that. Skip first line. It's set to true. Oh, did I not give it a value? Oh, I didn't give it a value. So that should help. I probably didn't set it here. Yep. Lock that. Oh, it just needs 0 or 1. That's weird. I should have set it as a, I guess I could set it as a Boolean, but in this case it says it is. That's something to look at. So not sure why it went to 0 or 1. It should be true or false. Back into Datacap Studio. I've got that locked. We'll run one more test, and I think we're done. At this point, I'd be done. I'm going to add the rest of the line items for all those names, depending on what I was going to get. I could do something to read that first line, take all of those, reference each of those in the output of the variables. You could do that as well, get even smarter. I'm going to assume they're always the same, which is a little bit dangerous, but hey, this is just a demo. And from there, I think we're done. If this works, I'm going to package it up and leave it for you to finish up. Keep running. Properties, and there it is. Vendor name 0, vendor name 1. Those are the exact vendor names we've got: Concrete Playground and Lake Cunningham Park. So those are the three. That's the reading of a CSV. I'm associating the CSV with this file, with this batch. We'd probably set the status to -1, so it's ignored. It might be -2, so it's ignored in Datacap Desktop. Otherwise, when you click on it, it might cause weird things when it tries to show a presentation of it. It's because you don't want this to show up in the verify client. So you want it to skip the verify, or if it does get into the verify client, you don't want the person to actually preview it. Where is my batches? Let's go double check that. Batches are here, 1302, and here is that CSV file. So it got copied to the right name. We've got all the data associated with it here, and you can see here's the values in that XML file. I've got my image file name, and again, now that we have all of this data here, when we get to the export step, we would create another XML file, another CSV file, however you wanted to export it. We would export it, but we at least have all the data off of this file. So there it is, a custom C# action that does import of CSV files in whatever format you want. Okay, one more cool little trick in this is when you're doing C#, you can use the Visual Studio debugger, and the way you do that is you have to get the application to cause an exception, which causes it to bring up the debugger. It's pretty easy to do. You just find this section of code that you want to start debugging, like let's say here, and I could say debugger dot launch. There that is. So now when I save and I build this, I've got to go put it into the Datacap application. I'll get my file. Grab the file, then put it into my DCO rules directory. Yes, I want to replace it. Now when I run Datacap Studio this time, and we'll run the batch through. So log into it, then go to the test tab. Again, we've already done this a bunch. Run a new batch. Play, and this time it's going to say, hey, there's an exception at Visual Studio Just-in-Time Debugger. And what do you want to do? I've already got this thing running here. I can say yes, or you can launch a new one. And I'll say yes, and here it comes up in the debugger. We're right at that line, and I can simply step through and see I've gotten one file, how many files there are, what the current line looks like. So I've got all this data about this, and I can debug into this Datacap custom action using Visual Studio, which is really handy. That's about it. Thanks.